Early tanks needed 4 men to drive them, 2 to steer, 1 to change gears, and another just to keep it moving. They were slow, heavy, and almost impossible to control. Inside, the heat was unbearable, the noise deafening. Communication between crew members was nearly impossible. One mistake, and the tank would veer off course or stall under enemy fire. But there was one man who saw the problem clearly, an Irish engineer named Walter Gordon Wilson, and he would solve it with a single brilliant idea. This is the story of the man who didn't just help invent the tank, he made it work. But before he changed modern warfare, Walter Gordon Wilson dreamed of something else entirely. He dreamed of flight. 21 April 1874, Dublin, Ireland. Wilson is born into the age of steam and steel, at the dawn of the internal combustion engine. As a young man, he joins the Royal Navy, learning the fundamentals of marine engineering aboard the greatest warships of the Victorian age. But the Navy moves too slowly for his restless mind. Wilson wants speed, innovation, the cutting edge. So he leaves, heading to Cambridge University to study mechanical sciences. He's drawn to a radical new technology, the internal combustion engine, small, powerful, and full of potential. While others see a novelty, Wilson sees the future. By the late 1890s, Wilson is already making a name for himself. He partners with Charles Stuart Rolls, the aristocratic speed enthusiast who would later co-found Rolls-Royce. Together, they push the boundaries of what engines can do. Wilson's obsession is aircraft. He wants to conquer the skies. In 1899, he designs a lightweight engine for Percy-Pilcher, one of Britain's pioneering aviators. The engine is innovative, efficient, built for flight. The test flight is scheduled. The engine is ready. But days before Wilson's engine can be fitted, Pilcher crashes during a demonstration in his hang glider. He dies from his injuries 2 days later. Wilson's dream of flight dies with him, for now. Grounded but undeterred, Wilson redirects his genius towards the road. By 1901, he's created the Wilson-Pilcher automobile, a machine ahead of its time. The design is unconventional. The engine is mounted horizontally, flat against the chassis, lowering the center of gravity. The result is a car that handles with precision and balance, unlike anything else on British roads. But it's what's beneath the surface that truly matters. Wilson experiments with gearbox design, exploring ways to make gear changes smoother, more intuitive, more reliable. The Wilson-Pilcher earns praise from engineers and enthusiasts. It's a technical masterpiece, but it's also expensive and complex, too advanced for mass production. The company struggles and eventually folds. Wilson moves on, he always does. He joins Armstrong-Whitworth, one of Britain's most prestigious engineering firms, working on everything from naval vessels to industrial machinery. Then he moves to Halford, designing heavy lorries for the British Army. With each role, his reputation grows. Wilson becomes known as the engineer who solves impossible problems, the man who sees mechanical solutions where others see only dead ends, the designer who builds systems that don't just work on paper, but work under pressure, in the real world, when it matters most. By 1914, Walter Gordon Wilson is one of Britain's most respected automotive engineers. A problem solver, a perfectionist, a man who understands how machines move. And then, in August 1914, the world goes to war. Suddenly, Wilson's designs will no longer just move people, they will change the battlefield itself. When Britain declares war on Germany in August 1914, Wilson doesn't hesitate. He re-enlists, not in the Navy, but in the Royal Naval Air Service assigned to the Armoured Car Division. He's back where he started, designing vehicles for war, but by 1915, the Western Front has become hell on earth. Soldiers crouch in trenches that stretch from the English Channel to Switzerland. Between the lines, barbed wire, shell craters, machine gun nests. Attacking means certain death. Thousands die for a few yards of mud. Something has to break the stalemate. The Admiralty forms the Landships Committee. Their mission, design a vehicle that can crush barbed wire, cross trenches, and shield men from machine gun fire while moving forward. They call it a landship. History will call it something else. Wilson is summoned to Lincoln to the works of William Foster and Company. There he meets Sir William Tritton, the company's managing director. Two engineers, one impossible problem. Can they build a vehicle that moves like a ship across the broken battlefield? Their first attempt is Little Willie. It's basically a motorised box on tracks, crude, unstable, and it can barely cross a 4-foot trench. It's also completely wrong. The problem is simple. The tracks are too short. The vehicle tips forward into trenches, gets stuck on obstacles, becomes a sitting target. But Wilson sees the solution. Instead of mounting tracks on the sides of a box, what if the tracks went all the way around? What if the hull itself became part of the track system? A rhomboid shape, tall, ungainly, but mechanically brilliant, Tritton is sceptical. It looks absurd, but Wilson insists. They build a prototype. They call it Mother. Mother is 26 feet long, 8 feet tall, and weighs 28 tons. The tracks extend around the entire hull in a diamond shape, giving it a climbing ability no vehicle has ever possessed. Inside, an engine, a crew of 8, and Wilson's gearbox system. Still crude, still requiring multiple men to operate, but functional. In February 1916, Mother is ready for testing. The location, Hatfield Park, north of London. The audience, military officials, engineers, skeptics who've seen too many failed inventions. Mother rolls forward, approaches a trench. The front tracks bite into the far edge. The vehicle tilts impossibly steep, then the rear tracks push, and suddenly Mother is over, crawling forward like some prehistoric beast. Barbed wire crumples beneath it. Obstacles that would stop any vehicle are simply crushed or climbed. The officials are stunned. Britain orders 100 tanks immediately. They call it the Mark I. But Wilson knows the truth. Invention is only the beginning. Turning theory into a weapon demands a new kind of machine control. 15 September 1916, the Somme. 49 British tanks roll into battle for the first time in history. Some break down, some get stuck, but several smash through German lines, and for a few precious hours the impossible happens. The stalemate breaks. But inside those tanks, it's chaos. The Mark I requires 4 men just to steer. 1 drives, 2 operate the gears, 1 for each track. 1 more manages the engine. The heat is unbearable. The noise deafening. Communication nearly impossible. And if 1 man makes a mistake, the tank veers off course or stalls under fire. Wilson knows this is unsustainable. You can't fight a war with a vehicle that requires a full crew just to turn left. So he goes back to the drawing board. The problem is mechanical complexity. The solution is elegant simplicity, the epicyclic gearbox. Instead of multiple gear levers and frantic coordination between crew members, Wilson designs a system where 1 driver controls both steering and speed through a single set of controls. It uses a planetary gear system, gears within gears, allowing smooth power distribution to each track independently. Turn left. The left track slows, the right track continues. Turn right, the opposite. 1 man, 1 set of controls. Reliable, intuitive. By 1918, Wilson's system is installed in the Mark V tank. For the first time, a tank can be operated by a single driver. It changes everything. 20th November 1917. Cambrai, France. The British launch the first massed tank offensive in history. 476 tanks. In coordinated assault, they smash through the Hindenburg Line, Germany's strongest defensive position. In 6 hours, they advance 5 miles. It had taken months of bloody fighting to gain yards elsewhere on the Western Front. The Germans are shocked. Their defences, designed to stop infantry and artillery, are useless against the armoured wave. Tanks are no longer an experiment. They're the future of warfare. And at the heart of every Mark V rolling across that battlefield is Wilson's gearbox, turning, steering, responding to a single driver's hand. Wilson himself serves with the heavy branch of the machine gun corps, observing, refining, improving his designs based on battlefield feedback. He's not just an inventor in a workshop, he's a soldier engineer learning from the men who fight in his machines. By war's end, he's been awarded the Companion of the Order of St. Michael and St. George. He's mentioned in dispatches multiple times. And in 1919, the Royal Commission on Awards to Inventors officially names Walter Gordon Wilson and William Tritton as the co-inventors of the tank. Finally, recognition. But peace returns, and Wilson isn't finished. His wartime engineering would soon change every British car on the road. The war is over. Millions are dead. The world wants to forget the machines of slaughter. But Wilson looks at his epicyclic gearbox and sees something else. The future of civilian driving. In the 1920s, driving a car is still a challenge. Changing gears requires double declutching, precise timing, mechanical sympathy. Get it wrong and you grind gears, damage the transmission or stall in traffic. What if you could change gears without using the clutch at all? Wilson invents the pre-selector gearbox, an evolution of his wartime design. The driver selects the next gear in advance using a small lever. Then, when ready, simply presses a pedal. The gearbox shifts smoothly, automatically, without interrupting power. It's revolutionary, effortless, refined. He partners with industrialist Siddeley, forming Improved Gears Limited. The company soon becomes Self-Changing Gears Limited, and the pre-selector gearbox becomes the standard for British luxury and performance vehicles. Daimler adopts it, Armstrong-Siddeley, Riley, even London buses. By the 1930s, British tanks are still using Wilson's designs. From the battlefield to Bond Street, Wilson's engineering shapes how Britain moves. And yet, Walter Gordon Wilson dies quietly at age 83. No state funeral, no front-page obituaries, no public memorials. The man who invented the tank, who changed the course of the First World War, who revolutionized the automobile gearbox, dies almost forgotten. Why? Perhaps because his work made complex things simple. And when things work smoothly, invisibly, we forget the genius required to make them so. Perhaps because engineers rarely seek glory. Wilson never promoted himself, never courted fame. Or perhaps because history prefers generals and politicians to the mechanics who actually build victory. For decades, Wilson's name fades. The tank becomes Tritton's legacy, or Churchill's pet project, or simply Britain's ingenuity. Wilson becomes a footnote. But in 2024, something extraordinary happens. The Tank Museum in Bovington announces a discovery. Walter Gordon Wilson's medals, his CMG, his war decorations, have been found and acquired for preservation. They had been lost, scattered, nearly forgotten, like the man himself. Now they rest in the museum, beside the tanks he invented, finally honoured. Walter Gordon Wilson bridged two worlds: civilian innovation and military necessity. He designed cars and he designed weapons. He dreamed of flight and built machines that crawled through mud. His epicyclic gearbox didn't just win a war, it transformed an industry. Every automatic transmission in every car today descends from his vision. Every modern tank's steering system echoes his designs. And yet, we almost lost his name entirely. How many other names like Wilson's built the machines that shaped modern warfare, that shaped the modern world, but never got their due credit? How many engineers, inventors, quiet geniuses solved impossible problems, then stepped back into obscurity while others took the applause? Walter Gordon Wilson deserved better, but perhaps now, finally, we remember. The man who made machines move, the man who changed war, the man who dreamed of flight, but taught the world how to roll forward, unstoppable through any obstacle. Walter Gordon Wilson, the forgotten genius.